The sun is shining. We're on another day. It's 23 minutes to 1, and I've got two fantastic guests. You're going to love these guests. You really are. So we've got Rick Moore, well-known businessman in the area, former magistrate as well in Leicester, and Annette Holliday, who is a Pilates teacher at Fit4You, based in Loughborough. Welcome both.
Good afternoon, Jeff.
Good afternoon.
Nice to see you again, Rick, and Annette, nice to meet you for the very first time.
And you.
So, I mean, there's so many questions I've got to ask you, but first of all, we need to just reference the lady that you met, who's one of your clients before you came into the building today, and the conversation that you had with her.
Well, it was actually her nephew, Andrew, who's absolutely amazing guy. He's one of my clients who's been coming to me for quite a while, and he asked me if I would give his aunt a biomechanics screen, and I thought she was 83, but she's actually 96. And I initially thought, I don't think I'll actually get her on the couch, purely because of the height of the couch and etc. But when I met her, what an inspiration. I mean, wow, she's really, she's given me such an inspiration to keep going and whatever. Anyway, she had the most amazing stories while she was on the couch. And she was talking about how you've got to keep going, you've got to keep moving. And then she was talking about one of the things that I was told was that one of her practitioners said, you can tell you haven't got bungalow legs. And I was like, I've never heard of that.
No, nor have I. No. Bungalow legs?
And yes, and he was saying, look, basically, because you're having to walk up the stairs, use your legs regularly, you're keeping, obviously, the quadriceps, the muscles all finely tuned, and ligaments, tendons. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So, yeah, and it was amazing. She literally blew me out the water, and she was just a little firecracker. She really was. The way her mindset was amazing. And can I just say one other thing that I learnt from her? Her husband had dementia, and that's something I'm blessed, I haven't come across yet. And she was saying, I realised initially, straight away, that I had to step into my husband's world. And I was like, what do you mean? So she said, instead of when he was saying, I want to go and see my sister who's not longer with us, instead of her saying, well, no, she's not here, is she, or whatever, she just said, she's out for the afternoon.
Yeah, how you manage it.
And I thought, wow, just being with this lady was just amazing. Yeah. And I think you can learn so much from a generation above us.
I'd be bound to wonder, Annette, even because I'm not normally prone to cynicism, whether living in a bungalow, so if we just analyse it for a minute, put my property hat on, 12 or 13 steps, I suppose if you've got no ground floor loo, you might go up a bit more than normally, but you would be surprised if that could impact on your life, wouldn't you? I get it sort of psychologically, but I think you've just knocked the sale of bungalows in Leicestershire. I mean, I've got a few bungalow investments. This afternoon they are going on the market.
Should I take my sandwiches and go now?
Are they really?
No. It's an estate agent's fib.
Did you ever have that, though? Did you ever have a case where somebody was going to look around a bungalow and go, I'm a bit worried that I might end up with bungalow legs?
Never, ever heard it.
Do you know something? It could be the new saying now.
It could be. I'm going to use it. I'm going to assume you don't own it. I've never fancied living in a bungalow because I always imagined somebody would peer in the window at me at 3 in the morning. But then again, when I told my wife that, she said, who would want to peer in the window at you at 3 in the morning?
Just going past Rick Moore's bungalow, let's have a quick look.
Peer in the window to see if he's got up for the 8th time.
The old 3 o'clock in the morning peer through. Let's see if he's got up for a wee in the middle of the night.
Yeah, don't do that.
I must admit, it was new to me, but then...
I get it.
I think, really, it's mindset, though, isn't it? You've got the type of person that, even if they did live in a bungalow, they'd still obviously go a walk daily, walk up hills, which would have the same effect to a degree.
But I do use stairs all the time. And a very quick story about Radio Leicester. Radio Leicester used to be in Epic House.
That's right.
Bottom of Charles Street. And I think we're on something like the 13th floor. And I don't like lifts. So even at Epic House, I would go up the stairs for 13 floors. And you would know going upstairs, even if you're moderately healthy and fit, how quickly you get out of breath. And you really, really do. So I get it.
Because you're going up those stairs, you're keeping all your muscles working and you're staying stronger, aren't you? So
I'm trying to make sure I don't fall over.
There's a bit of analogy. I get it. It's like if you have, just say you have a Mars bar every day, that accumulates, doesn't it? But because you go up the stairs every day, it's a knock-on effect again, so it's for the better.
No, I get it.
So,
I'm sure that any exercise is better than none, and going upstairs moves your heart rate up very quickly.
And your fear of lifts has kept you very young.
Cool.
There you are.
Come on the show again,
See?
Jimmy. Yeah.
You think it's negative that you fear lifts, and actually it's
No,
a positive.
I make it into a positive because I do know that going up, the doctor once told me, going upstairs is one of the very best things you can do. I go to a gym and you will move your heart rate up quickest if you go up some stairs, which I do at a gym.
Now, Annette, how did you get into Pilates?
It's actually quite nuts. I was actually going to art school because I love art, so I was accepted for my foundation course, and then I used to be a motorbike instructor years ago.
Did
so I was
you?
one of the first women that ever had it. It was actually a little Bantam BSA, but anyway, and
It's about the one job I can't imagine you doing, and that actually.
So,
I've just met you, but
well, I am 6'2", and 20.
it's how you're sitting.
So you were one of the first women in the UK.
No, I wouldn't say that. But in Hudderscote, there wasn't anyone else at that time with a motorbike. So I went into the instructing side, and then I had a very bad accident, and I broke my sternum clean in half, which is quite hard to do. And apparently, it's the hardest bone to break in your body. And I think, luckily, touch wood, it's the only one I've ever broken. So with all the rehab and everything, and I realised that when I was released from hospital, there was a lot more damage. So I studied and rehabbed myself. Then I did my sports science degree. Then I did my GP referral. Then I did other stuff, biomechanics, then mechanics, and then I did my Pilates.
What is biomechanics?
Basically, what it is, it's just looking at the body as a whole. So we work with, because I work with backs, because we were just talking about this, weren't we?
We were.
And it is the feet upwards, but I work mainly with the pelvis. So we just realign. We look at the pelvis, and we believe that if the pelvis is slightly out of alignment, it'll affect everything above and everything below, and it will give you a slight leg length discrepancy because obviously it's tilted. So there could be total ricochets of quite a few.
And will an X-ray show that? Will a traditional X-ray show that, or don't you?
No, it depends. I mean, we work with the piriformis, which is like a tiny little muscle either side of the coccyx, mainly, and that can get into slight spasm after years. So people can have a slight twisted pelvis for 20 years, and they're not aware of it.
So could you tell by looking at Rick's posture now, or my posture, whether we could do better, or we've got an issue or anything like that?
That would be more Pilates. Biomechanics should be on the couch. Obviously, initially...
So immediately set up straight.
So initially, obviously, I'd see how you walk and how you move, but I think the biomechanics and the Pilates goes amazingly well. So if you stood up, I'd be able to see if your shoulders were out and if your hips were out.
Go on then, stand up, Rick, come on.
I can't keep standing up, sitting down.
You have bungalow legs if you don't. Okay, let's have a quick...
So if you can see...
well, obviously people listening to us can't, but...
So Rick's shoulder... I meant you.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can agree with me.
Sure.
Okay.
Rick's shoulder's slightly sloping more this side. Can you see?
Okay, so your left shoulder is slightly sloping, Rick.
Yeah.
I
mean...
That could just be the suit, though, couldn't it? The suit. He needs to get a better suit or something like that.
I have had a prolapse disc. I had a slip disc.
Have you?
Yeah.
And
So it will,
that
obviously.
absolutely fits in with what I know.
Well-known businessman in Leicester, Leicestershire, and also former serving magistrate, and Annette Holliday, who is a Pilates teacher at Fit For You, based in Loughborough. Now, before we move on to some stories, we started the show by this article that's in The Guardian today, and it's basically the new household rules, and it seems that these particular questions that are being asked in the paper are causing some debate, and we're wondering whether we can help settle these few domestic debates. So, a few questions out, and I just want to see how you fare with these, because listeners have been texting us in and we haven't read them out yet. So, we'll ask you both if that's all right.
Absolutely fine.
Number one, how many bath towels does a household need?
Depends on how many people live there.
But per person, would you say?
Oh, sorry. Per week.
What is it per week, or is
No,
it?
it's not a trick
It's not a
question.
trick question.
There's no answer to it. I just want to know what you think.
7
Right? You think 7 per person?
a week, yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's a lot more than I thought.
Depends what your job is. If you're teaching a lot and having to shower a lot,
That's true, actually.
like if you're fitness or
In Pilates.
Pilates.
Yeah, Rick?
Well, I suppose I've got to be. I would say 2
Yes.
per person per week.
How often should you change your sheets?
I have never changed our sheets at all, but
Because your wife
I
does
have
it.
been married for 51 years. I would imagine our sheets get changed once a week, but I may well be in serious trouble when I get home.
Yes. We're probably once a month. Annette?
Your wife's going to say you off now.
You're
She
in
probably
real
is.
trouble.
You and I together.
You were in
I'd
real
say,
We'll go to the pub after
I'd
the show.
say, I would like to say once a week, but in truth, probably once a fortnight.
Okay. Can shoes be worn indoors?
I'd say no.
Rick?
I generally don't wear shoes indoors because but I don't wear slippers. Can't get on with slippers, so I'd say the answer is no, they shouldn't.
And you wear socks 2 days in a row, don't you?
I do, yes. I remember telling you, educating you about that
Yes.
because you were changing yours every 3 or 4 months.
That's right.
Yeah.
How
I had to move out of the studio. I do remember.
How often should you wash your jeans? Now, it says here that the chief exec of Levi's once revealed that he didn't wash his jeans for a year, and there are some people saying that you can freeze wash your clothes, so you can put your jeans in the freezer, and while it doesn't remove stains, it does kill the germs that cause the jeans to smell.
Really tricky questions for me because you're probably getting a picture. I'm not enormously domesticated. I've never washed anything at all.
Do you own jeans?
Never. I wouldn't know how to start the
But
washing
you would
machine.
know if your jeans have been washed, though, wouldn't you?
That's a really good point. If you're talking jeans and you're talking denim jeans, I suppose they need washing. But as Annette said, it rather depends. If you live your day down a trench, it's a bit different to living your day in an office. But I would say your jeans should be washed every fortnight.
Right, okay.
See, mine, I've got jeans for going out, so I love dancing. So when I go out, I do hit the dance floor and that's it. So they probably, I would wash more. But the jeans that say I'm out today, I'll probably just put them back in the drawer. So I'd probably say, yeah, once a fortnight.
I'm waiting for what's right and wrong. Are we going to get a what's right and wrong?
Well,
They can't be, can
the
they?
experts say every 1 to 10 wears. Every 1 to 10 wears for your jeans. That's what the suggestion is.
Right.
Is it okay to use a toilet brush?
I suppose it depends where.
Well,
Oh, I see.
Hopefully in your
Oh, I
own
see.
house.
Sorry, I thought you meant probably to paint the outside of the house. I wouldn't know. I don't do anything domestic.
I
So-
think
I
so.
don't think.
so hang on a minute, Rick.
Yeah.
I know it's lunchtime. I apologise to
No,
anyone listening while they're having their lunch.
We're going to go a bit deeper on this,
Are
aren't
you
we?
suggesting that you go to the toilet and then you let somebody else clear the pan up?
It wouldn't be necessary. I'm a very neat person. I mean, I'm not sure how much more detail we're going into. I tell you why I'm not big on toilet brushes. I'm never certain what to do with them when you've used them. Because I've never had any instructions.
Okay.
You see, I went to a boys' grammar school and we didn't have toilet brushes, obviously. So that's why I probably don't use them very often.
Can I just say
I'd keep flushing.
Rick's been a magistrate. He's had like huge important decisions to make. He's a businessman and everything, and we're talking to you about toilet brushes.
That's okay, I can live with it.
I would say because he was a magistrate and had such amazingly important decisions to make, he's never thought about a toilet brush before, and this is probably quite taxing, isn't it?
I wonder if Hayden could make sure that I'm on this show next time if I come back with Annette. Because it's the nicest anybody's been to me for weeks.
Yes. What is the best way to wash a cleaning cloth? We may as well take you out of this
I don't
conversation.
think. I mean, shall I go outside and walk
Yeah.
around Jubilee Square?
I'd say boil it or put it in the washing machine.
Okay, well, can I just very quickly clear up listener comments here, because people
Yes, please.
have bothered to text us in, so thank you very much for your messages. Okay, so Gina says, hi Jimmy, on the subject of bed sheets, used to be 2 weeks, though every week when going through menopause. Since the hubby died, and I've still got super king-size bed, I sleep 2 weeks on one side, then 2 weeks on the
Yeah.
other, so every 4 weeks, cuts down on washing costs and wear and tear.
Good thinking.
Yeah,
Really
okay.
good thinking.
We should shower at night. Okay, this is whether you should shower in the morning or at night time. It's
Okay.
another question. I believe this because when I get into bed, I want to feel clean. The argument is that people will argue if you shower in the morning, you'll feel fresh for the day, but I just wash my face and that works exactly the same as having a shower. That's from Sahil.
Isn't there an argument that the best time to take a bath is before you go to bed? I shower every morning. Don't take baths anymore. Too much fuss. But I think I did read that somewhere once. But you can,
Well, I read this fantastic article. We probably haven't got time to read it out, but it was called Why Do Baths Incubate Ideas? The Immersion Therapy. And it's the fact that when you're in the bath, you come up with some of the best ideas ever. And I often do that. I go and have a bath and read through notes because that's where I do my best thinking, is in the bath.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of strange people about. But just to show how domesticated I am, if I may, I had some visitors, quite important visitors to home for a business meeting very recently, and my wife had to go out, so she left me with, and we all drink instant coffee, but she left me with one of those machines that's got a piece sticking out the middle.
Cafetiere.
Thank you. And after my guests had gone, one emailed me to say thank you for everything. Coffee was a bit weak because I didn't know you have to press the thing down into the cafetiere because nobody's ever told me. I am absolutely useless domestically.
I think we need to help you out.
I don't think you do. I'm not going on. I'm not going anywhere. I'm being photographed.
Should we get you on that programme with Kim and Aggie or whatever it is, or Call the Cleaners on ITV or whatever the programme is? We'll get you in. We'll sort that out.
Our house is spotless, but I don't contribute to it.
We've got to sort your dreams out still, and we'll sort that out.
We've got dreams to do, haven't we? Yeah.
Indeed. Right, the news is on the way next at 1 o'clock after George McCrae's Rock Your Baby. 52 minutes. Rick Moore, well-known businessman in the area, having founded the property company Mork and You're in Leicester back in 1991, former serving magistrate as well, and Annette Holiday, Pilates teacher at Fit for You, which is based in Loughborough. Now, just on these household debates, these questions that we read out before the news, I've had 2 messages in. Jack from Market Harborough. Did your guests, Jimmy, say 2 and 7 bath towels? I live in a 2-person household and have about 30. I thought he was going to go the other way.
We certainly did say 2 and 7, if I can speak for us both, yeah.
Ginger Stew.
You must be very clean.
Ginger Stew says 1 to 10 wears before you wash your jeans is minging. 2 days, wear max, then straight into the wash, shower in the morning and again in the evening if I'm going out. 2 showers a day, Ginger Stew.
It's certainly put me in my place.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right, should we talk about Henry Ford?
So, quick background, if we've got 2 seconds. So, a few years ago, I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, made me have to speak after dinner speaking, open conferences and goodness knows what. And I always wanted to find a way to get going, never having written sort of speeches. And I found quotes, really. Although it didn't help me on one very bad night in Leicester when I had 2 consecutive Chamber of Commerce things to go to. One, I remember this really well, one was about the future for transport, private transport. That was on a Wednesday. And on the Thursday it was about an extension of a burial ground. And I would just go along as a community member. And the office would just give me a few notes and I'd put them in my pocket and I'd be off, busy day at work and all this and the other. Went home, got changed. So the first one was about transport and the future of transport. Hand in pocket, pulled out a note, and it was notes about burial grounds. And so it was a bit of a struggle because I didn't know anything about transport to that degree and I knew even less about burial grounds.
What would you do, Annette, if you're in that situation?
I really don't know.
I got by, and funny enough, I told somebody the story not long after, and they did say to me, "Are you responsible for the cycle path through my cemetery?" But anyway, we got by. So that's how I came to quotes, and I got very uplifted by a few particular quotes, and the person whose quotes I really came to like was Henry Ford. Now, you don't have to love Henry Ford because he's the man that, probably take me 3/4 of an hour to get back to Market Harbour tonight, won't it, because of the traffic. But there are some things that resonate with me. And it's quite interesting talking to Annette, I am regarded by, I think, my pals as somebody whose glass is half empty or half full. I think there is something in that. And so one of my favourites from Henry Ford is, if you think you can do a thing, or you think you can't do a thing, you're almost certainly right. And if you just think about that for 1 minute, it is saying get your mind right, something that I think Annette's very much related to. Also, why I like Henry Ford, this is a man of enormous vision whose family eventually became massive philanthropists. But when he didn't invent the motor car, of course, but when he was developing the motor car on a big scale, and he asked people what they wanted, and I love this quote, he said, if I'd have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So it just shows how you get from a horse to a faster horse to a car, doesn't it?
Some people are renowned just for their quotes. You mentioned Henry Ford there, and actually I probably know Henry Ford more for those quotes than I do for actually what he did in the vehicle world. Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same with people like Mark Twain, the author. I've never read a Mark Twain book in my life, but I've read his quotes.
Well, the reason I like Mark Twain is because, and I'm sure you have a lot of bankers or retired bankers or people who want to be bankers listen to your show, but my favourite Mark Twain saying still is that a bank manager is a man who lends you an umbrella when the sun's out and wants it back when it's raining. Sorry to all your bank managers. I don't know if Hayden keeps any research on how many bank managers you've just lost, but it's true. But my other favourite quote is from a guy called Jim Lovell.
Okay.
He was an astronaut, and I really like this. There are people who make things happen. There are people who watch things happen, and there are people who wondered what happened. And I think that's really true. Now, not everybody can make things happen. Come on, let's be fair and balanced about everything. But these are challenges that you can improve and change your life. And that's why I really like quotes.
Do you have any that you keep in it? Are there any things from books, or do you write anything down? Do you keep a journal? Do you see and spot something and go, I must take a photo of that and keep that?
Yeah, definitely. And one I like Gabby Bernstein. Have you heard of her?
No.
So she's American, and she looks at just basic quotes, and it, definitely to what you were just saying about, if you say you can't, you can, and you're totally right, and if you say you can, you're also right.
Yeah.
But she does quotes, just silly, really simple things like when you wake up in the morning, if you've got a fearful day or there's something happening, she says just sit quietly and say, I choose love instead of fear. So whatever I'm going to face, I choose love instead of fear. And it's so simple, but I love that. And you've asked me, and I've got loads of them, but because you've asked me, I can't actually think of anything off my head.
I think they're interesting.
I think really it's a case of more than quotes. I love just simple things like I wake up every morning and go, I am so grateful. So I think mine goes more into gratitude of everything around me.
Can I ask, is that even if you've had a horrendous week, can you still get into that really positive
Honestly,
space?
I think I can, but it does take practice because it's like if you have had a really, really bad day at work and it's out of your control.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think sometimes if I walk into my home and I'm going, I love my little house.
Yeah.
I love my girls are beautiful. There's nothing I'd like to change about them. Can be hard work, but there again, girls are. And my clients, I'm so blessed because I walk into work and we're like a team.
Yeah. Can you just say what you said off air about the fact that the reason why you accepted to come on as a guest today?
Yeah, because it's funny actually, because you saying if you say you can, you can. If you say you can't, I've always quietly said to myself, I have never wanted to go on the radio. And, it's just it's me. I just love. I don't expect anything. I'm just happy with the way my life's building. But when I initially got asked to come on the radio, it was about talking about Pilates, and my fear was 100 off the scales, 200%. Literally 2 weeks before I came on, I was feeling ill in the night. I was totally panicking.
Really?
Really. And then I thought, look, for some reason, you've been asked to go on. Everyone doesn't get asked to go on, so you have been plucked for some reason to come on. So I went, and I was terrified downstairs, and I was literally didn't know if I was going to speak when they said, right, Annette's on air. And then this time, I was terrified again. Not as much, but I've actually got a very positive thing happening today that stopped me being terrified of coming on, and that is because I've come in with my lovely friend Rita, who was actually a client of mine, and we've crossed over as friends, so we now go for lunch and stuff together. And there was a coat I tried on a few weeks ago and I couldn't justify buying it, and then today I thought, if I go on the radio and combat my fear, as soon as I'm off air, I'm going to go and buy that coat.
Excellent. And you know what will happen? It's been sold.
No.
No, I know the coat.
Rick.
I know the coat. I'll be there first.
It's a tiny little biker jacket, and I'm like...
But can I say, there's nobody without fear or phobia.
I know,
even
yeah.
big lumps like me, I've got my fears and phobias. I'm mildly claustrophobic, so it's a phobia, isn't it?
Well, you don't like the lift, do you?
No, I don't particularly like lifts. Oh, I don't mind lifts. I don't know what it would do if I was stuck in one, and I have been stuck in one, So we've all got them, haven't we? The great thing is to be big enough, brave enough, bold enough to admit that you've got those phobias.
And have a goal in mind as well.
Do you know what Go on.
Sorry, the beauty that I thought this morning was that, I was thinking, look, no one's here to trip you up. You've just been asked in to talk, and you're going to meet lovely people like yourselves. And I thought it's not like I'm a politician and I'm going to get totally, or I'm not saying they all do, but I'm not going to have any questions thrown at me that I'm not happy with. So you're right, the fear isn't real. It's basically just your fear. It would be easy just to have stayed at home today because a part of me was like, just stay at home, you know.
Do you know what I always try and do? I always try, because I get nervous, we all get nervous, like you just said, we've all got, you know, and you're asked to do something and you haven't done it before, whatever it might be. It might be stand up and say something in public about something you're not particularly sure about, or whatever it might be. And I always try and take kind of the sting out of the situation in the sense of rather than make it a big deal, make it a really tiny deal. So I quite often, like, I'll visualise the Earth just spinning round with lots of little, like, people running around on it, and that's all of us. It doesn't matter what you do, we're all exactly the same. We're all exactly the same.
That's
doesn't matter
quite a good analogy.
what job you do, wherever you work, we're just all on the same planet, just scrabbling around, doing what we think is important, when actually it probably isn't.
And of course, we're also, this is getting very deeply philosophical, but we're all the same in so many ways, aren't we? And it's like, I had a discussion last night about democracy, and some people shouldn't be able to vote because democracy is the most wonderful thing in the world, isn't it? You know, and because we're all equal. We're all equal.
It is, and how many of the things that we're thinking about in our general day, because people have to fill their thoughts, they have to fill their space with something, don't they? So you think about the things of the rest of the day, things that you're worrying about, whatever. If you actually to break them down or write them down, how many of them are actually really, really, really important?
Yeah,
They're really not.
Probably none at all.
It's like if you have a crossword with someone, you can't remember what it was about. And I think that's a nice point, is in we are all equal like that. The world, and it's, at the end of the day, you are no more important than anyone else. And I think the people that have made it in this world are the people that are right up at the top, that see someone just as equal as them, that's doing a job that's probably not as demanding or as important.
I've got a poem that I always like that I'll keep on my phone, which I'm going to share with you. If you think it's good enough, we'll read it out after this. From Sam Smith in The Stranger Pudding first. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can put that on one of your son's pubs.
Certainly appropriate for a restaurant, yeah,
absolutely. Right, so I read this this poem, my favourite poem out, which I keep on my phone. I read it every now and again. Is it good enough for the radio?
Definitely.
I think it's brilliant.
Okay, so this is called The Man in the Glass. It's by Peter Dale Wimbrow Sr. And it says, when you get what you want in your struggle for self and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what the man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end. And you've passed your most difficult, dangerous test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass. Be true to yourself.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Very good, isn't it?
You always have to start with yourself, don't you?
Absolutely right.
And if anybody wants that poem, I'll email it to you. My email address is jimmy@bbc.co.uk and I will send it to you. Right, where should we go next? Shall we talk about how we can help ourselves change our mood on that theme?
Yeah, I think a negative mood, if you wake up in the morning and for some reason you feel grumpy, and I was brilliant at it, especially when my 4 daughters were younger. I was like, you know, something's gone off and da-da-da, and you'd be rushed and, you know, that mood could stay with you. But I honestly think that spending 5-10 minutes first thing in the morning is a really positive thing to do. So, like, with me, it's so simple. It's like, I love my cup of tea in the morning. I'm a tea girl. And just that cup of tea is like, I'm so grateful for that. And just waking up, I love my bed. I do. And if I wake up in the night, I sound a bit preachy. I don't mean it like that. But I just think I'm so blessed for this bed, because I've seen a guy earlier on in the day that hadn't even got a sleeping bag. But, you know, it's like starting to think of the small things that you're so grateful for, and it really does. And if it's something big that's happened in my life that's a little bit harder, I love putting music on that I love and just like listening to it.
It's so funny you say this, because we had Dr. Andrew Reeves in from De Montfort University, and he travelled by cargo ship to go abroad to watch his carbon footprint. He was on his way back. 100 million bananas was the cargo that he was on the ship coming home. And he was telling us about it's not just about getting to the destination, it's the journey. And I suppose this is almost a mantra for life.
Which is a brilliant quote.
Well, yeah, but it's true. And
yeah, definitely.
It's like I suddenly thought about it. How many holidays have I been on where all I'm thinking about is getting to the place? I'm not thinking at all about the journey, the flight. I'm thinking, right, how can I bide my time to get through all this to get there? And I think actually I've been guilty of that. You need to plan and enjoy every little step along the way.
But could I just say, if you think of this in the broader sense, and I'm not knocking people like doctors who have an incredibly difficult job to do, but of course if you went to your doctor and you said, I've been gloomy for the last 10 mornings I've woken up, they'd probably prescribe you a pill. And that's, I totally get why they do it, quite appropriate, but I do think self-help could play a far, far bigger part in this. I mean, I've got friends, people I know, who don't get going without a pill, an up or a down. I don't know, I don't do any of them. But and I understand it, and I sympathise with them. But you wonder whether they've tried, perhaps with help, to do it a different way. So I think what you're saying is very, very uplifting. I really do.
To a degree. I mean, there obviously are people with massive chemical imbalances that they do need a lot more help, and it won't work.
I get it.
But I do think there's people that look at what you have got, not what you haven't got, is one of my favourite quotes.
I think it was Dr. Wayne Dyer who says...
He's brilliant.
He is, he's fantastic. It's about not look... Some people look at what's missing. Yeah. They're not looking what they have. Yeah. It's like what's missing, and then they focus on that. And
but aren't you back to glass half full and half empty?
Well, basically,
it's such a trite saying, but I do think there's so much truth in it.
And it's projection as well, isn't it? It's like if you think all the bad things that could happen, or you look at a child that's beautiful and you see, oh, they're not doing this, they should be working harder. You know, instead of saying, look, this is how they are growing, this is just their personality, let them be and see. People try. You cannot change what's already happening.
No, you can't. No.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, both. We've run out of time. Pleasure. Rick and Annette, lovely to see you. We better jump up and do some exercise, otherwise we're going to have bungalow legs, the pair of us.
I don't think I can imagine you ever having bungalow legs, because I've never seen you legs, because you sit behind.